Today's homestead security and defences is what we're looking at. And of course, as usual, for information purposes only, the materials contained within this presentation are based on my own training, previous experience and personal skill sets. Sigma Prepper will not be held responsible for your use or misuse of the information presented. So no. So what we're going to do is we're going to base this on a complete grid down. So this is our SHTF. This is how we're going to need this security and defences big time because it's Mad Max styly. I'm going to look at this from a perimeter point of view, and it's just the easier way to break it down. So we're going to start off from our least biggest threat, from starting all the way out, and then we're going to work in closer and closer and closer into ourselves. This is the danger zone, because the minute that's breached, the only point after that breach is where? Personal protection. This is one-to-one hand combat. One-to-one hand combat we're talking about here. So, what I would be doing typically, yeah, the way I would roll, let's just say, is, first of all, decent first aid kit. But if I'm on patrol in the property, yeah, if I'm on patrol, I told you already, I'm going to be probably on the front driveway or something on a chair. But the way I'm going to probably want to roll is with something like a tactical belt. So this is what I have. This is my loadout. Right. So there's a bunch of different pouches for different things. There's my ham radio with the headset, right? I've got a flask there, got some gloves in there as well, a bunch of other bits and pieces, right? So, you know, you got the usual, you know, like a multi-tool type jobby thing like you'd expect, right? You got a fire making kit in here. This is more for bushcraft loadout. I've got a first aid kit in here, as well as there's a little tarp as well just in there, tucked in there, so I can make a quick shelter. This is the tactical belt I have on my bushcraft camp, but it's also the same one as you would do on patrol. It's got all the stuff you need, and then you've got things like it's got a Gerber, which is one of my favorites. The Gerber is how I roll. So this is what I have in here usually, and the ham radio, and then I've got a flask in here. Right, nothing special. So, but the idea is, you know, you've got your tactical ham radio, you've got your ham radio on there as well. It's all ready to go. You got your headset in, and that's all you need really. If you're on patrol, then plus you would have whatever your offensive means would be along with that. Like I say, in the UK, it's reasonably restricted in that respect, right? But you can get creative. So, solid first aid kit. Because there's no hospital care, and take no risks, because there's no good being some sort of a commando, right? And I'm not talking about some, you know, overpriced $200 IFAK thing that's basically an I got shot kit and it's useless about anything else unless you get shot. What I'm talking about is a proper first aid kit, which is going to be for your homestead. This is the Sigma Prepper one, to give you an idea. I have things like the oxidimeter as well, with things like the pulse meter. They're actually storm matches in case you need to make a fire as well. But other than that, it's got all the stuff that you would need, all organised the way you would expect, right? With all the different pockets, with all the different packages, everything's in there that it should be. You got scissors, you got tweezers, you got scalpel blades, right? I mean, I'm talking proper scalpel blades, as in like surgical scalpels, right? You even got a thermal blanket in there as well, right? But the idea being, and things like your, you know, even your cleaning your eyes out and stuff like this, right? So you need a proper first aid kit. Like I said, not some overpriced IFAK thing. This is an I got shot kit. If you're going to spend $250 on a first aid kit, let me just tell you this first. If you're going to spend $250 on a first aid kit and I got shot kit, why don't you just maybe spend $200 on a bulletproof vest? Prevention's better than a cure, right? If you're going to spend $250 on an I got shot kit, just spend $200 on a fucking bulletproof vest. It's going to be a better use of your money. when you actually do bushcraft and you actually go camping all the time and you actually lived in foreign countries that are pretty gnarly, you'll actually realise what you actually need in a first aid kit. And it's not just a bandage, right? It's lots of options, and this is going to have to be a separate video to let you know what I've got in here. But you've even got things like toothpicks, right? Even like toothpicks and other little tools that you're going to need for small stuff. It's not just about big, massive bullet wounds with chest seal patches. This is just not realistic for the average sort of thing that you're going to get. Sure, you want a tourniquet. Sure, you want to have some options in terms of stopping heavy bleeding, but what you really want isn't really like that. The stuff you're going to actually need, just a small little tube of skin glue, job done, right? Stuff like that. So just be sensible about first aid kits, because it's super important, because there is going to be, and the reason I sort of mocking away the IFAK kits is because they're great. They'll buy you about 10 minutes before the paramedic helicopter gets to you. That's all they'll do. There's no fixing anything with any of that kit. It's literally just wads and wads and wads of stuff to pack into a wound while you wait for a helicopter to arrive that will never arrive. So rather than spending a couple $100 on a I got shot kit that's going to buy you an extra 10 minutes of life waiting for a paramedic that never turns up, because this is, without rule of law, shit's hit the fan, right? So it's like, you're better off, take no risks, don't try and be a commando hard man, yeah? Be clever about it. Don't take any risks, because there are no hospitals, there are no paramedics, and there's no helicopters coming to pick you up. So your 10 minutes extra stopping blood isn't going to cut it, right? If you're that worried about getting shot, get yourself a bulletproof vest or some sort of a shield, a SWAT shield, right? And it's a better use of money. No hospital care, remember that. Yeah? It's important stuff. Body armor, riot shield, right? Nimble indoor use. So I'm not talking about like some big SWAT shield. They're already in your home, don't forget. Right? So you got your SWAT shields that look like this sort of thing, right? I've got one like this. Look, £17.80. £17.80 for this shield. Right? Believe me, this is going to stop a lot. It's not going to stop firearms, don't get me wrong, but hand-to-hand combat, knives, axes, swords, this is going to do the trick more than not having it at all. It will also give you confidence to approach a threat. These, I feel, are better because they're more nimble, and don't forget, we are inside your home. This is a battle going on in your doorway. You're not going to be able to be messing around with this massive thing, right? It's going to get in the way. It's going to be cumbersome. You need something real nice and small. In fact, the ones like these are good. Yeah? These are good. Because you're literally, you can rely on your own defenses, you know, just your natural reactions, right? When someone's striking a blow at you and you're just like that, it's just natural, right? And you've got that shield there. Yeah? And if you're combining this sort of a thing, it's a big force multiplier. Don't underestimate it, right? Just your ability to look like you're protected is super important, because this is going to put people off, innit? If they don't feel like they're going to do you much damage, right? And you're turning up there with body armor, riot shield. Now, when I say body armor, you can do some creative stuff there, right? This is what I was saying to one of our VIP Patreon members, because we have like one-to-one consultancies, and she's a single female, right? And I said to her, I said, you know, if you've got money, which she did have, you know, to her, I've got strength and I've got all these other things and I've got no money, but she's got money, but she hasn't got the things that I've got. So what she can do though is spend good money on something like a, you know, like the old Trials bike leather biking suit, right? Don't underestimate how strong they are, right? Do you know when you see the motocross, wow, 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 and you've got those full leather suits and you've got the back brace that goes down, yeah, the back support as part of the motorbike gear, a full crash helmet on your head, motorbike boots, yeah? They can be beating you with bats and you probably wouldn't even feel it, even if you were a single vulnerable woman, right? And you would have a crash helmet on, so of course they wouldn't even know that you were a woman, right? But if you're standing there and you've got a shield and they haven't, yeah? You're standing there and you've got like leathers on with big old armor stuff all over it, like from quad biking, racing armor plating you can get for quad bikes. You just look a little bit like something that you're just not going to want to have to deal with, because it's going to be more difficult to take you down. And this is why I've got stuff like the old We've got things like cut-proof gloves, safety glasses, helmet. You know, this is important stuff, because if you're rocking, right? So this is like a little dish, my little bowl. But you see, you've got your ballistics glasses, which you're going to want, because in case they're going to spray stuff in your face or whatever, or you're going to shoot something at you, a catapult, whoever knows, right? An air rifle here in the UK is probably what you're going to get shot at by. So you need your eye protection is super important, because believe me, if you get yourself blinded halfway through an SHTF scenario, it's not going to look good for the rest of it now, is it? So for not a lot of money at all, just give yourself a slight advantage. Cut gloves, right? So these are gloves which have threaded steel in them, right? That stop you from getting sliced. Now, these aren't going to help you with a stabbing motion, but with a slice, they certainly are, right? So if you combine that, you can get slightly more hardcore. Now, these are really more like chainmail mesh look. These are what butchers use. Now, if you happen to slip and you can wear the cut sleeves and the cut gloves on your main offensive arm, or defensive arm, should I say. So if you consider, right, if they've got a knife, you will be able to, more than you would normally, yeah, be able to defend with your hand and your arm to get that knife off them without getting cut. These can actually take being poked slightly. But in terms of getting sliced, just don't bother getting sliced, yeah? For the sake of like £10, £20 for cut sleeves, cut gloves. No hospitals, remember. No paramedics. No helicopter coming to save you for those extra 10 minutes that you've stayed alive, right? With the old IFAK kit. So you need to stay out of dodge. So why get cut when you don't need to for the sake of 20 bucks? So the other thing as well, mask, right? Some form of mask, because when people wear a mask, it does something to them. When they wear a mask and they wear a tactical helmet, cue the old Sigma paw print, obviously. But when you're wearing your tactical helmet, you got your main light on there as well. That's a Frogman Navy SEAL 1. Subdued Union Jack British flag there. So I've got a mount. This is a quick release mount, Picatinny rail mount I put on here for other stuff that we ain't going to talk about. So this is, you know, you can get mounts for night vision on here as well, which is loads of money. Now this is actually not even ballistics. This is just, you know, but it's pretty thick. And for the threats in the UK, this would be good enough for a crossbow. It'd be good enough for air rifle and for catapult, right? But my point is if you're approaching that threat on your driveway or on your street, or you're out of your property and you're wearing your motorbike leathers with all the armor in it, you're wearing your tactical helmet, you're carrying something, if you know what I mean, you've got your eye protection, you've got your cut gloves, you've got things like this to protect you, you're just not going to look like an easy thing to take down for them. Even if you're a single vulnerable woman, would they even know? No, they wouldn't. You've got a shield to hide behind, you've got your full leathers on, you've got a crash helmet on. It doesn't have to be as scary as you think. And when you're wearing a mask and when you're wearing all that gear, there's something that you will feel confident to take on that threat and to approach that threat rather than retreat from it. You see? Because it's all part of that psychology, don't forget, about you know, when you've traveled like more than 40 countries like me and Magic Hand have, and you're going into gnarly back-end city streets of places like Hong Kong, Cambodia, Laos, yeah, Burma, Dakar, yeah, New Delhi, we've been everywhere, lich, right? And so and we have never ever once felt threatened. Why? Because we know how to travel, we act confidently, we know what the score is, we know where we're going, yeah? You walk with confidence, you know what the score is. I'm not a small guy as it is, which is fortunate, but I'm just saying, you have to be... There's a mindset. Don't underestimate the power of mindset here, right? And if you can try and trick yourself into that mindset with that confidence, right? If you are a single female as an example, right? Or someone who's in some other way feels vulnerable, then don't let that be a thing. Do what you need to do. There's plenty of things out there to allow you to become confident, yeah? And that will in itself come across, right, to the other person when you are indeed at that impasse on your driveway, talking to them, asking them what they want. Because you look like you are ready for battle. I guarantee they won't. And if they look at you and they think, do you know what? They could probably get away with the first 3 or 4 strikes, 3 or 4 shots, whatever. They're going to know that they've got more chance of getting got than you have. At that point, guess what they're doing? They're going up the road. They're going up here. And they're going to deal with someone up here. Which for us is perfectly acceptable. If you want to go up the road to find someone who's slightly more easier to break into than me, do it. That is our entire task here, is to look like the least easiest option on the street. It's very simple. Yeah. Least vulnerable option. And there's a difference between being well known and having a high profile. So you need to balance that out as well, right? So again, cut-proof gloves, arm protection, don't be silly, right? Tactical vest, belt. I like a belt. I've got a vest as well, which is is great if you're wearing exactly what you need to wear underneath. You can't guarantee what time of year this is going to be now, can you? You can't believe this. This could be in the middle of the summertime this happens. It could be the middle of the winter and it's minus 20. So some things like tactical vests I find aren't great because, you know, you sometimes are wearing more or less of stuff that you need on it or under it and so on, right? But it's up to you. Belt with equipment, defensive protection and tools, subject to your laws in your area. Wrist, ankle restraints, XL, zip ties, right? Think creatively. You got to figure out, and this is what's going to lead us on to the next subject, which is, you know, just needs a red cross on the chest, innit? Let us know how you're feeling about it so far and the things that I'm talking about. I hope it's hope it's all useful stuff to everybody. So yeah. Now again, everyone has different threats and different scenarios in different countries, so we all, you know. Yeah, exactly. All American prepper there. You look like a hard target and people will pass you by for looking so soft. Now, and this is what I'm saying. I haven't talked about wearing all your army gear and your camo gear, have I? I'm talking about motorbike leathers. There can be white and red bright coloured motorbike leathers. You don't have to look like you're tactical. You can just look like you're just a little bit of a harder target and maybe it's not worth my time. Because don't forget, they know themselves as well. There's no paramedics coming. There's no hospitals open. So they don't want to get hurt either. They know for them that's bleeding out, right? So here we go then. There will not be any medical facilities or paramedics available to help you in a medical emergency. I don't know how many times I have to drum it in. You will need to avoid all forms of potential harm, stay out of Dodge, which is why, again, the people who call themselves prepper and they're doing first aid kits have got nothing in there than just something in case you get shot. You've already failed at that point. The whole point is to not get shot. Bulletproof vest versus $250 tourniquet. Yeah. And the other $50 you got left over from buying the bulletproof vest instead. Yeah. You can get the stuff that you actually need and is actually useful in your first aid kit, right? So yeah. Stay out of Dodge. And again, part of the way of staying out of Dodge in the first place, don't forget, is by looking at the perimeter we've done and about seeing your threat coming in from the greatest distance possible, right? Intelligence is always going to be your friend, right? If you know they're coming before they even know they're on the way, then you're already won. So here we go with offensive measures. And of course, this is a tricky one because it depends where you are, what you've got rocking where you are and things. But to give you some ideas, right?